Cheer boy. What's up, guys? It's Goose from the Wise Wealth Discord coming back at you. We got another Sunday watch list for you guys. I'm aware it's Monday morning. You guys know my schedule in the Discord. I am very zoomed in. I wanted you guys to be able to read it. I've noticed that in some of the past videos it's been difficult. But these are the economic data, economic I don't know, meetings, I guess you could say too. We have a FOMC meeting minutes that are coming out this week. That'll be pretty big. Red folder news. We got ISM on Tuesday. JOLTS job openings, ADP non-farm employment change. That is tomorrow. Wednesday we got unemployment claims. And then FOMC meeting minutes will be big too. Thursday we are closed January 9th, but you can see we still do have some things happening. 30-year bond auctions, those haven't really mattered as of late. Natural gas storage. Friday followed up with more job data. These will all be really big as people are, expecting a slowdown. So when expectations are low, if these things do start to hold up, yes, like the narrative of rate cuts will change, and people will start to get maybe afraid of that. So it's kind of hard to tell how the market's going to respond. But that's why you kind of want to just stick with price action, is because price action tells you usually the story that you need to either be selling or buying. SPY last week had a great week. You could see that they bounced off previous resistance, turned it into support. We were eyeing this purple box because there's a huge gap below, but it couldn't quite get there. There's no follow through. And when you don't get the follow through from bears, they don't have a lot of time. They don't have time on their side. Bulls do. Bulls are like, I could just hold forever. Bears, if you're shorting, that's the only way you can make money on the downside, only if you're like buying some, shares like this. But bears, when they run out of time, when you start to see it wane off, it's usually going to result in at least a push up. Now, is this a bull trap? Is this trying to get, just starting a bear market, a downtrend? It's hard to tell right now because we are starting to flag up. It's like, could we get denied here? Yes, we could. Could data be bad or good and too hot and makes yields continue to go up? Yes, that could happen. But you have to look at it from the perspective that the last, I mean, since 2008, we're pretty much continuously going up. So it's like dips are usually meant to be bought. And when you start to see flags like this, that's just that's textbook, textbook flagging and holding the 50. So things do look bullish, but I'm saying the contrary thing is like everyone's getting bullish now. It's like, does this get denied? Do we come back down and actually get denied out of this flag and break it? Was the FOMC the start of something bigger, like a bigger 10% correction? That we don't have complete, you know, um, confirmation that we're going up. This is going to the moon, but it's a good constructive start from the bulls for sure. Like the calls we made last week were awesome. They were right on point. When things start to get oversold and they start to hit supports, that's usually where you want to buy calls. Now we're getting up to the point to where it's starting to get resistance. Maybe not on IWM, but on the Qs, we're getting up here. Is this another leg lower? We have yet to see. We do have a lot of data to come out. I think that gives us our answer. But if we do start to break out of these levels, we start to get above 600 on SPY, QQQ, we start to get above 525, 530. We're cooking. Like, ooh, we are going to explode into new all-time highs if we start to break some of these levels. Because you break it down, I mean, IWM, there isn't, I posted this in Discord, there's not a lot of volume pocket here, or there's a big volume pocket. So when you don't have a lot of liquidity in one place or the other, it usually is going to move pretty quick. I definitely could see IWM, if it holds this breakout level of the flag, it could get to 230 pretty quick. It gets over its 50, then 235. We'll keep an eye on that because the economic data is going to move the 10-year greatly. All you need is the 10-year to go sideways or down, and IWM can perform well. But on this level, that's why I was consistently dropping. You could see IWM was dropping just as much as the 10-year was rising. So it's something to keep an eye out for. Yields are still kind of like in the back of most people's minds. It's a little sketchy. The dollar is dropping a lot today, which is good to see. If you want to see, a little bit of gas to the fire. So when you start seeing a good rally going, and then you see the dollar dropping, the yields dropping a little bit, that's going to add fuel to the fire. So as the rally's happening, that's a big tailwind as well. Uh, like I was saying, we're just flagging up. I'm neutral right now. I'm not in any positions. I did have a long position from the bottom last week, sold out because I'm trying to become a six-figure trader, and on my way to that, there's 221 trading days. I think it takes like on average a little bit less than $500 a day. $500 a day is like 125,000. So it's like I may have a different strategy than you. Like I said last week, I do these videos to break down what levels I would be looking at for break and retest for supports. And it's like, don't, go based off my strategy that, oh, Goose went long last week. That means it's time. Like that was a different trade for me. That was a different entry, but I'm always in the Discord giving you updates about my idea is like, oh, I see this breaking out. So when we see these charts, I think things are starting to look kind of bullish. I'm not exactly sure if it's going to break down. I'm not sure if it's going to break out. I'm going to let, kind of the data tell me and price action tell me. So if it does start to break out, I will indeed be in calls. If this starts to break out, I will be in calls. But if it does start to break down, then we got to start looking at some of these gap lows. Is it going to hold 520? If it doesn't, there's not a lot of liquidity here because it went up so fast. We're getting into that oversold area, right into resistance. So yes, there are things that's why I'm not going long as of right now. I don't want to get caught up here trying to buy calls as it's dropping continuously down here. I think that could play out potentially, but things still look bullish in the structure wise. Because you come down to equities, you have Apple. They came down to a great support here where it was previous resistance, and now they're just trying to build something out. When Apple's that oversold, you usually want to be buying it. Just saying, if it does get all the way to 237, it's probably the best bang for your buck when it comes to Apple. They're going to continuously just pour money in their baby. It's like the number one holding out of all institutions. Microsoft just ranging still. That one doesn't look as good. I think it's been looking the weakest out of some of these Mag 7s. You can see that it's below its 50, just captured the 200, and huge range. I mean, I'm not really excited for Microsoft until it's over like 440, and that's quite a bit to go, but it's one of those where it's like a buy and hold situation. Nvidia, that's huge for the Qs. We were flagging that up. That was the one we made a bunch of money on Friday. Broke out, and then you could see their pre-market. Jimmy's been hammering that with their Monday. I forgot what the name of the meeting was, but they're doing. They're showing some of the ideas that they have. Jimmy said there's a segment about robotics that he's excited to hear about. But when you see these flags breaking up on some of the biggest companies we have, it's hard to be bull. It's hard to be bearish. Yes, there's resistance here, but that doesn't mean I'm going to buy blindly short, hoping the market goes down. I'm going to wait to see if there's follow through, if there's a breakthrough, there's a retest. And like with Nvidia, is it going to break through all time highs? If we start seeing blue skies on Nvidia, QQQ is most likely going to be all the way up there too. Because when Nvidia has good days, QQQ does. You see our pre-market right now, 1%. You see Nvidia is up like 2 something. Nvidia is cooking this morning. Tesla flagging up pretty well. It's pretty steep right now, so it could go create that lower high and still continue to consolidate for a little bit. But you do like that it like caught on and it got right above its all-time highs again. It's not like it came up, got denied right there, and then started another leg lower. But there's still a little bit of work to go through. Meta, they started pumping a decent amount through that consolidation. So now that you're kind of getting through that, can you hold it? You're creating that higher high. You want to have a higher low too. You don't want it to go too far down. There are a lot of things that are starting to look like they could be at resistances. AMD, love the structure. I know we've been watching it the past couple of weeks. I just want it to consolidate, and that's exactly what it's doing. I want it to hold these levels because eventually If you see these last few consolidations towards the bottom of the trend line, takes a little bit, starts to build it out, and then you'll see, the move up. And it's like if you could start to break and mount where you're at right now, the 128, 130 area, it's looking good. But it's still a really weak stock. To be honest, when it comes to AI, they're one of the ones that hasn't really grown significantly. If you were to take the time to look at some of their earnings, like even back, yeah, like reported 5, 6, 5, 5. So it's like they're not really growing a significant amount. 6, 7. These are very small percentages when it comes to some of the other big boys like AVGO, NVIDIA, even ARM. ARM arguably is growing at a faster rate than AMD. And AMD gets all this love for some reason. But those are things that you kind of have to pay attention to. Is like, yeah, I'm not a go. I can't, read a balance sheet. I'm not Warren Buffett. I'm not that great at it yet, but I'm getting better at PE ratios and growth rate and stuff like that. And you can see why AMD is a laggard. You know what I mean? I'm going all the way back as far as 2022, 2 years ago, and they're still at the same revenue. Yeah, that's cool. You're maintaining, but you're not growing at rates that Nvidia is, that, maybe Tesla is, or Meta, or Microsoft. And all these names are growing still at like a 10, 20% clip. Apple's been slowing down. You can see that's kind of a laggard. Like Apple's only been growing like 6%. They're still a beast, don't get me wrong. Like they make a lot of money, their dividend is great. People are going to continue to buy these stocks, but you can see the stronger ones are the ones that are continuing to grow. Nvidia is actually growing a crazy amount of revenue. It's like every year you can see, or every quarter you see it go up 4, 5, 10 billion dollars. AMD is not even close to that. In the last 2 years, they haven't been. So I get it. Everyone wants AMD, AMD, and I'm on it too. I do want it to go up, but you got to be careful of that. It's going to be one of the weaker ones, and there's other good, AI names that you can play when you see NVIDIA breaking out. There's no reason you want to get into AMD just because it's cheaper. NVIDIA is breaking out because of the demand for the stock, because they are continuing to grow. So be careful. NVIDIA coming into resistance. I'm not saying this week is a bull trap. I'm not saying this week we're just going to continue to crash either. So I'm neutral. I don't really know exactly what's going to happen. We're coming into resistances, but if QQQ does start to break out, some of these names look great. I do love Amazon's look. I was posting that in the Discord as well. Amazon looks awesome. They're starting to break out in pre-market. Really keep an eye on that 230 level. They break 230. Higher highs are probably in the picture, so I'm looking at possibly 240. Sorry, burping a little bit. Possibly 240 calls. The flag was a beautiful, like, great consolidation type thing. Because, I mean, they were in blue skies, so you got to build out some support. It was a beautiful push, and now you get that cool off of the RSI, and still a bullish structure holding the support, higher highs, higher lows, and then boom. Does it go up and create that leg higher? Most likely, I would say I wouldn't bet against the bull trend that they have going on. Netflix, one of the weaker names. I think it's just very expensive and went up quite a bit. People are starting to back off a little bit, but it's still a very, very bullish trend. I mean, you could get down to the 800 level and still be, a very bullish outlook, even if you came down and tested the previous, big support that you had in the 690, 700 level, is still a very bullish look. So when you go up that much, it's like, yeah, you might be lagging a little bit, but it's really not that bad of a dip to be buying if you've already been, holding for a while. But they look like one of the weaker names. Netflix does, AMD does. Microsoft, I wouldn't say weaker. I mean, technically they are below. So yeah, one of them. But like Nvidia, high roller, Tesla's been a high roller. Nvidia has been a high roller. Meta is doing pretty well. I still think that's one of my favorite names, Meta and Amazon this year. It's pretty hard to want to short when it comes back and it holds its 50. And now it's just, basing this and trying to get through its previous resistance or support, now resistance. Because when it does break higher, it's going to go. I mean, I'm talking 660, 680. So it's just a waiting game, guys. I'm not going to be too aggressive this week with a lot of the data that's coming out, but I'm just giving you these levels to watch out for. Is like if these do start to break above and the Qs do start to, break this flag, we're probably going to all-time highs, and that's when you can buy your swings and do that and this. But until that's proven, I'm not sold on anything. IWM, I like the retest of the trend line, ultimate trend line, holding the 200. I love this, but we got to get above this resistance that we've been watching. You guys have been in this range for a very long time. They're opening up right about there. So I can't quite tell yet. Don't usually I'm a little bit more convicted of a bearish or bullish side, but we're opening up right at resistances, and we're kind of up there now with like how fast we've gotten up here. Is this when the bears take over right in the morning or during these economic data and job data comes out terrible? Is this just a what they would call a bear market rally? Like when bears are in control, there's usually quick pushes up, and that's exactly what happened last week. I'm not saying that that was a bear market rally, but that is what happened. It was a very rapid move up. People were buying the dip, and it's like, is that when they sell it back down? I don't know. I'm not. I personally am leaning a little bit more bullish. I do think these structures look very bullish when you hold your 50. It's the start of the year, January. People are usually starting to buy a lot of things. Bitcoin's another thing that kind of keeps me bullish. Is like if you're just holding 100,000 and you're not selling off, no one's really scared. Like that's a huge risk on sentiment. Is like if you're continuing to pile into Bitcoin and you're buying these consolidated dips, it's like, are you really scared to invest into equities? Probably not. But if you start to see some of these riskier assets and IWMs, and I do have this whole list of what Jimmy's been watching, but I do think ARM, you could see it flagging. That could easily go to 200 in no time. That's one of the stronger AI names if NVIDIA does have a great day. I've been watching them. I don't know if I want to play options on it. They're very, very like volatile, but I do kind of want to get all these down here. I do want to accumulate some shares. This is the SpaceX one. Wolf, Jimmy's been kind of hammering a little bit. Ion Q. I haven't taken my time to look into exactly what kind of companies these are. You never really like as a good rule of thumb. If someone tells you, to buy something, you don't want to buy it based off the story they tell you. You kind of want to do, your own due diligence. You can see the technical analysis are great, and technically you don't really need that thing. But when it comes to me buying shares, I feel more comfortable if I could be like, I'm buying Lunar because instead of like, oh, Jimmy said it looks good, so I'm just going to invest and then get mad if it starts to go down. It's like I don't even know what company they were, but it says right here aerospace and defense. So I still got to do my research, but I'm not going to sleep this year. You can see that they were very, very strong, and they're continuing this year to be very strong. And these are like long-term stocks that you could be accumulating and holding. So it's like when you play your options. I mean, this is what I do typically. So it's like if I were to, last week I made quite a bit of money. I take some of that money and then I start to throw it into the stocks that I'm holding. I personally hold a lot of Mag 7, but if I'm starting to diversify and you want to get into these, when you have a break of Qs and you have a break of IWM and you get that money, you could go right back in and go buy some of these other shares that you want to hold for the long term. That's personally how I'm looking at my portfolio, but you guys you guys can do whatever you'd like. I just do these videos to give you a heads up on where price could be heading, the sentiment, the news that's coming out, just my thought on how I'm taking in the market. But always manage your risk appropriately. Never, blindly follow exactly what Jimmy and I say. You always want to do your own due diligence. I do know like we have a good success rate. We have a general rule of thumb about where the market's going, but we're never perfect, and we don't want anyone else to over leverage just because what we're saying. But IWM looks great. QQQ looks great this morning. SPY looks awesome, but coming into resistances. I'm not sold until we start to, get a follow through day. Do we have the gap ups, or does the economic data just pull this all down and screw us? We won't know that yet, but I hope everyone has a great week. If if you have any other stocks or commodities, anything you'd like me to look at, maybe the balance sheet on some of these things, just let me know. I love looking at stocks. I love learning new things. So ask questions and get to them as soon as possible. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.